Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.
From St. Louis Public Radio. This is St. Louis on the Air.
Even more strange, we asked the city, well, what do you do if you have an officer who took the survey and it took them 10 times to pass it? What happened?
How do you make that determination of when a chase is necessary?
In the state of Washington, they just fixed this. They cannot pursue a vehicle unless they witness it leaving the scene of a crime or unless somebody calls an immediate threat or harm to somebody. That's it.
I'm Emily Woodbury. Recent deadly high-speed police chases in the St. Louis region have brought renewed attention to the vehicle pursuit policies employed by the city and county police departments. During a 2.5-week span this April and May, 7 innocent bystanders died in crashes that occurred when suspects ran into other vehicles during these pursuits. These deaths have prompted the St. Louis City and St. Louis County NAACP branches to take action. And here with me now to discuss is St. Louis City's NAACP President Adolphus Pruitt. Mr. Pruitt, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me. It's a very important conversation.
So you and St. Louis County NAACP President John Bowman have met with the chiefs of both police departments in the city and the county to discuss their pursuit policies. What did you learn? What was most striking to you about what you learned?
Well, we learned that both had the same philosophy and their policies are roughly the same. What we did learn were two significant, I think, differences. So in the city, every police officer on a monthly basis does an electronic survey to test their knowledge of the pursuit policy. And if they don't pass it, they have to keep taking it until they pass. In the county, you learn their pursuit policy during your initial training when you become a police officer. After that, the only time you get any additional training or on the policy is when the policy changed. So in one department, they're at least testing them on a monthly basis to ensure that they understand the policy and have retained it. And in the county, there's no testing, there's no follow-up. And even more strange, we asked the city, well, what do you do if you have an officer who took the survey and it took them 10 times to pass it? What happens? Do you track that? What do you do with the data? And we haven't gotten an answer yet to that question.
And even with this training, this renewal of the policies, you're calling for these policies to be changed. Why, and what would you like to see in place? Yeah,
and yes, we calling for some changes, but the one reason we want to make sure that the retention of the policy is that the police officer who is on the street and decided to do a chase, that he's following the policy, he's retained the policy and is following it. But what we want to see, some of the changes we are looking for at this stage of the game has more to do with one, that the police department has within their policy or within their management system the ability to track and make sure that officers are adhering to the policy. That's number one. Number two is that those items or those things that we deem to be minor offenses should not result in a police chase. There was a study done by the Justice Department some time ago, which basically said 90% of the chases started with either a stolen car, some sort of traffic violation or expired license plate, some sort of minor offense that had they stopped the person, they would have wrote them a citation. But it led to a chase, and that chase led to somebody being harmed. So we want to narrow that window in which they can justify doing the chase.
And a lot of the reason you're starting this work is because the families of these victims have come to you and said, listen, these petty offenses are not worth the life of my family member. That's what you're hearing.
Absolutely. When we hear from the family members, and even those who have survived a accident as a result of a chase, when we hear from them, the stuff we hear is horrific. Those who do survive, some of them, their lives are ruined. Their lives is over. And so, yes, that is most definitely one. And in some cases, we're losing police officers. A very good police officer we lost in St. Louis County in December, I think, of 2020 or 21. We lost a very good officer out there.
So one of the things I thought was interesting was that you found that they're using those spike strips to stop a chase. But you've actually found that departments that are using GPS DART systems, like the St. Anne Police Department, that this could be a better technology for actually apprehending.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned, because St. Anne Police Department, the chief was quoted years ago that, hey, we would chase you till your wheels fall off. So that scared the heck out of us. But they've advanced and they're using that sort of technology. There's a technology called digital siren that's being used in Mobile, Alabama, and a couple of other places, where if the police decide that they're going to start a pursuit, they hit a button and it sends just like an Amber Alert out to every phone within a mile radius, alerting them that, hey, there's a high-speed chase about to take place or it's taking place. Be on the lookout. And so it's technology like that and those advances that we want the department to incorporate, and those are some of the things we will be asking for.
And this GPS DART system, I assume you kind of hit the car with a GPS tracking technology, and then they go to wherever they're going, and then you can apprehend.
Absolutely. It shoots out and has adhesive on it. It sticks to the car, and then they don't have to worry. They know where the car is going. They're following on GPS. They know exactly where it's going and where it stops.
Do you think there's money for that in the budget? Do you think the departments would be willing to buy some of this technology?
I think if they measure the amount of monies and dollars they're using fighting lawsuits or losing lawsuits and balance that out against the cost of using some of this technology to avoid some of that liability, I would think that they would make the right decision and move up to that technology.
You would also like the threshold for police chases to be a little bit higher. How do you make that determination of when a chase is necessary or not? Do you look at the level of the crime that occurred, or how does that? In the state of Washington, they just fixed this. In our estimation, in March of 2021, they passed a piece of legislation, and it goes statewide. And basically, the threshold is that they cannot pursue a vehicle unless they witness it leaving the scene of a crime, or unless somebody that vehicle or the occupants in that vehicle cause an immediate threat or harm to somebody. That's it. No other reason. That's it. Either you witness them leaving a crime and you chasing them, and because you know they done it, or two, that you have a very good idea that person poses an immediate threat to someone's life or harm. In the weeks to come, the Federal Justice Department will act as a mediator between you, the St. Louis County NAACP branch, and the city and county police departments. And in fact, actually, one of those conversations happened yesterday. What can you tell us about what you discussed in that meeting? And based on that meeting and your conversation so far, are you hopeful that change can happen?
Yes. Our conversations yesterday with the Justice Department, it was a very good meeting, long meeting, but very good meeting. And the outcome of that meeting, we were able to narrow down 6 specific areas that we think would be a part of a mediation agreement that the Justice Department would present to the police department in the very near future. We were very enlightened with the way that the Justice Department responded to the issues that we brought up. They felt that we didn't put anything on the table that was not realistic and that the departments could not adopt and do. And so we anticipate them reaching out to the departments sometime next week and begin to schedule some meetings so we can start the mediation process. And we look forward to a successful mediation at the end of the day. So we told them we would like to have this thing wrapped up by the end of the month, by the end of July. We'd like to have all this wrapped up. And they feel that based on what we presented, that's quite possible.
St. Louis City NAACP President Adolphus Pruitt, thank you so much for coming in today.
No, thank you for having the conversation.
This episode was produced by Avery Rogers.
Audio engineering by Aaron Dorr.
This podcast was mixed and edited by Aaron.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Our podcast proudly supports St. Louis artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.